from the Centered Body Studio. I'm a Pilates instructor, and I'm here to tell you today about the difference between a flat back and a neutral spine when you're doing exercises. And you may wonder, why do I do some exercises in a flat back? Why do I do some exercises in a neutral spine? Or you may wonder, what the heck is a neutral spine anyway? So I just want to go over that and kind of clarify that for you. So I'm going to have you lay on the mat, and we're first going to just feel what a flat back feels like. And when you're in a flat back, you're going to be engaging your abdominals to pull your spine down into the floor. And you want to take out all the air underneath that lower part of your back so that you are pressing it into the floor, and you can feel as much of your spine imprinting into the ground as possible. And just see if you can feel your abdominals helping you do that. If you're pushing your abdominals out, you might feel like you're really gripping here, but if you sink the abdominals down, they're going to be working a little deeper, and you're going to feel a little bit more of your spine plugging into the floor. And the reason we use flat back sometimes is because we want to, if our legs are in the air, we want to feel like we're staying connected to our abdominals to help us support our legs in the air. Maybe you're doing tiny taps, maybe you're doing leg lowers. And if you let your back come off the floor, then you're really not using those abdominals as efficiently as possible. Sometimes we do those same exercises in a neutral spine. And a neutral spine just means that you're allowing your natural curvatures to stay there. You're not trying to press them into the floor. You're not trying to change your spine. And the reason we tend to work in neutral is because you live your life in neutral. You don't walk around, with your tail tucked under, or hopefully you don't. You walk around with your spine in its natural curvatures, right? And some people's curvatures are more exaggerated one way, some people's are more exaggerated the other way. We all have our natural curvature position. And when we are laying on the mat, in order to find a good neutral spine, we want to kind of have a flat pelvis where our tailbone does not point up and our tailbone does not point down. You can see how that shifts my whole spine just by pointing my tail up and pointing my tail down. You want your tail to kind of point straight towards your heels, and you'll feel more balanced. You'll feel probably a little bit more comfortable because your front and back are going to be working evenly. Now your shoulders and ribs should also feel somewhat heavy on the floor. If your ribs are really lifted, that's going to also bring your back up off the mat more than it needs to be lifted. So you're going to be feeling more of your back muscles and less of your front muscles. So you want your ribs to feel kind of heavy. You don't want them all to feel heavy because then your shoulders will pop up and your lower back will flatten again. So there's a neutral position for the rib cage. And then there's also a neutral position for your neck and your skull. So you don't want to let your chin lift up like this and over exaggerate that curve of your neck. But you also don't want it to be flat into the floor. You can see the difference, right? You can also hear the difference in my voice. So you want a nice relaxed neck with your nose pointing straight at the ceiling. And that's, generally speaking, more of a neutral position for your spine. And then you want to feel that shrink wrap around your spine so that you can do marches, or you can have your legs in the air without changing the spine. So it's staying neutral. So I tend to work in more neutral positions when my legs are up in the air. But if I'm doing something where I'm trying to really lower my legs, I'm going to use more of a flat back to keep that stability, because that's harder on your abs, and it's easier to find a little bit more of a tucked pelvis to help you counteract any lifting of the back. So those are some reasons to be in one versus the other. And if you're doing exercise classes or any kind of exercise that requires you to be more in a flat back or more in a tucked under pelvis, you want to make sure you balance that out with muscles that strengthen your back, because you're always going to be strengthening the front, and the front can get tight, and the front can make you, we already do a lot of things in the front of us anyway, so we don't want to just be tight in the front. We want to strengthen our back so that we have equal amounts of strength in the front and the back of the body. So if you are one of those people that tends to work in a tucked under position, doing exercises on your front in prone, or what I call tummy time, is really great, like doing leg lifts or doing both legs at the same time. And there's sort of a neutral position here too, with the whole front of my pelvis pressing into the floor. I've got a little abdominal lift to help support my back. And I'm just trying to lift my legs. You can also practice lifting your head, or lifting your head and your legs and your hands. So all of those exercises are strengthening the back of my body so that it balances out that work of the front of the body. And then in all fours, same thing. You could be in all fours in a neutral spine. You could be in all fours in a rounded back. You could be in all fours in an extra archy back. Sort of that cat and cow difference. But if you strengthen in a neutral spine, your head is pointing that way, your tail is pointing that way, rather than head and tail pointing up or head and tail pointing down. And you might have head pointing up and tail pointing down. You could have any combination of those things. We have very expressive spines. But if you want to find a nice neutral spine to strengthen in, you want to have your head pointing one way, tail pointing it the other way, and you want some support from the abdominals in the front. And then you can do things to challenge that stability. You can do an arm and a leg. You can do leg out to the side. We call that fire hydrant. But you're trying to maintain that neutral position, and that really strengthens your body in a neutral way, so that when you stand up and walk around, your body feels support from both the front and the back of your core muscles. So thank you for joining me. I hope that helps explain the difference between neutral and flat back. And if you have any more questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below and subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.